The vice president is often the last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric, but being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It is a new day. We thank the good Lord it's a new day. Thank God it is a new day. So good to see you. Thanks for stopping by again. It's me again, WJONI Channel, One Life, Many Seasons. That was brutal. I felt really bad for Tim answering that question because basically he lied. Now even the media, especially the left-wing media, can defend Tim Walz. Totally indefensible. Hey, we're about to react to some clips on just the media getting on Tim Walz, saying he's weak, unprepared, totally not ready, especially after that debate. That VP debate was totally revealing. Are you ready? Let's go. Please put your comments in the comment section below. Let's react to this.
I mean, I think this was kind of the rehab debate, rehab in terms of image. Certainly that was the case of J.D. Vance. That was his goal of trying to rehab his image, and more importantly, the image of the guy at the top of the ticket. But I'm not sure at the end of the day it's really going to matter. I just want to say right before you came on, we did see something that kind of speaks to what I'm saying. The candidates chatting, their wives came up chatting. That was not something we saw anything close to in the presidential.
I think we shouldn't lose track, I think even in the civility of the fact that J.D. Vance came to this debate to land a bunch of punches, and he did. He landed a lot of punches in between all the niceties and all of that. And the thing that really stood out to me was that Tim Walz did not seem prepared for it. He didn't respond to a lot of the criticisms and attacks that Vance put on the table. He allowed some clear falsehoods to just go completely unanswered. He allowed J.D. Vance essentially to dodge on a whole host of issues, on climate change, on the issue of his flip-flopping on Donald Trump. He allowed Vance initially to claim that Trump salvaged the Affordable Care Act. It took him several sentences to get to the part of his answer, Walz's answer,
Happy listener,
where he actually responded to that. I mean, I think there was a clear lack of preparation and execution here on Walz's part.
Lack of preparation. You can't give what you don't have. He did not have it, clearly. And one of the reasons also is the same mistake I believe Kamala herself is making. Not having a whole bunch of interviews, not meeting the people, not speaking to all the networks, just going to familiar networks. You got to get out there. If you want to be a president for all, you got to be able to talk to all people. You got to get on Fox. I have not seen one interview of Kamala. I'm not even so much worried about Tim Walz right now. I have not seen one interview. If you have, please put in the comment section below of Kamala on Fox News or just general networks that don't necessarily agree with you, because that's the real world. And that to me is quite shameful. It's not encouraging. But hey, we're talking about Tim Walz here. Lack of preparation, lack of frequent interviews. That will do that. I hope he's learned his lesson, but it's too late now.
I think actually it's the opposite. I think he had too much preparation.
Maybe, yeah.
He had so many
Too much preparation? How?
lines that he was clearly trying to say that he didn't listen and said when J.D. Vance said one of the many things he really hit Kamala Harris on, not Tim Walz, but Kamala Harris, he didn't respond because he clearly had things in his mind. I think the lack of interviews that he has done with national media, with local media, it showed. He needed more reps.
So wait a second. From what Dana Bash is saying, he's got so much in his mind, he's memorized. So he's not even thinking. So he's just there right in front of American people to memorize stuff and just pour it out. That's not the sign of a good leader. You have to be able to react in the moment. You have to be able to think deeply, critically, because things are going to happen that you may not necessarily be able to prepare for and make notes for, but you have to be able to make sound judgments on the spot. So clearly, he's not ready for this. Kamala is not ready for this. If this is what you want to do, memorize stuff and pour it out to people. I'm sorry. That's not the world we living in today. Those are not the kinds of leaders we want. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, J.D. Vance is much more experienced at this, at public speaking, at defending himself, at pivoting.
All right. Now let's go and see a CNN panel and see what they're talking about with Anderson Cooper. And then we'll put our comments in the comment section as well. Let us go.
Anderson, what's the view at the table in terms of the debate? What do your folks think?
Well, I'm about to poll them right now, but I do think it was fascinating how nervous it seemed that Governor Walz was when he first came out. And to the point was made earlier, perhaps, I think it was Dana's point, not doing a lot of television interviews, local, national, made a difference.
Yes, I think that is absolutely true. And I thought his first answer on the situation in the Middle East was probably one of his weakest answers. He closed strong, without a question, and on those questions of abortion, the Affordable Care Act, and of course the end on democracy, I think he did very, very well. People are shooting me numbers from dial groups across the way, and pretty surprisingly to me, they basically said it was more of a draw. One thing should be noted. And that is the degree to which we discussed before the debate, there are two J.D. Vances. There's the J.D. Vance that you saw tonight, and then there's the J.D. Vance who is a right-wing social media troll, the guy who really attracted the right to him. He definitely went through door A tonight, and he had a mission, and that mission was to be what Donald Trump isn't, which is to sound reasonable, to be core.
You know what that tells me? The left-wing media is trying to say two versions of J.D. Vance. That's because they can't figure him out. Unlike Donald Trump, they almost have figured out how to trigger him. But J.D. Vance, they can't figure him out. And you can see how not so passionate this panel are today. Normally, if it were like a Trump-Kamala debate, they would have been all over the place. They know Tim Walz did not do a good job. So the problem here is they're trying to figure out J.D. Vance, but they can't. He's just too smart for them. And that's the problem they have in here that they're trying to explain. Oh, what version of J.D. Vance are we getting? Well, either way, you're going to get a smart J.D. Vance. And I just have to say, to be quite honest, do you know who I really think is most glad this debate was with Tim Walz? J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz? I think it's actually Kamala. I think a lot of us are forgetting that this would have actually been J.D. Vance versus Kamala if Biden was still in the race. Oh my, oh my, oh my. I could tell you. I don't think Kamala can handle J.D. Vance's smoothness. It would have been a total smackdown. Let's just continue. Here's another one from ABC. This is what they think of Tim Walz. Hang on one second.
John, you heard what the Harris campaign is saying tonight, that the January 6th moment they believe was one of the strongest moments for Governor Walz that came well into this debate.
90 minutes in by my count.
But it was still quite a moment.
It was, but first, David, I got to say, I think that Walz did seem unsteady. And frankly,
I have to give it to this folks. Actually, they've been honest, okay? They could have been just lying and just saying things that are not, but at least they're honest.
I don't know why they've done it, but they've kept him out of the limelight. They've kept him away from reporters. They haven't had him do any interviews, and he was clearly unsteady through much of that debate. And in contrast, J.D. Vance was very smooth. He took the arguments not to Walz. He was very respectful of Walz, took it to Kamala Harris. Overall, a tone of civility in this debate, in an election that has been anything but civil.
I was struck on that point, though, John. Repeatedly, both of them said to each other, well, I appreciate what you just said there, and then went to sort of claim their separate stances on whatever the issue was in the moment. But they said it a number of times in different ways, but both acknowledging the other standing on that stage.
Yeah, and you just don't hear that anymore. And J.D. Vance did a very good job on taking the policy questions, including ones that were going to be very difficult for him, and pivoted back to make the points he wanted to make.
So there you have that. From ABC, acknowledging that Tim Walz, totally weak, very unstable, just did not do a good job. And on the contrary, they admitted J.D. Vance did an awesome job, a very, very good job. He was well prepared. And I don't think it was just preparation from memorizing stuff and memorizing documentations, but it came from experience. He's been doing a whole loads of interviews on all networks. I've seen him on CNN. I've seen him on non-conservative networks. He's been on Fox. He's been everywhere. But Tim, I have not seen. And I heard in a combined effort interview that Trump and J.D. Vance almost have triple the interviews that Kamala and Tim Walz have done so far. That is really telling, and we can see the result here. When you don't prepare, it comes to bite you. And now let's just check out and see what MSNBC are saying. Are you ready for this?
I think the big picture takeaway from this is that one of these candidates is much slicker than the other, is a much more practiced kind of professional debate style speaker, and the other candidate won. There was one bad moment for Tim Walz in this debate where he got mixed up and embarrassed in answering a question about exactly what month he had been in China in relation to the Tiananmen Square protest.
You remember that? That was the very first clip I played. Very bad. There were other bad moments, but you could just say he lied. Tim Walz lied in that moment, and he could have just admitted it. So you can try and spin it whichever way you want. Tim Walz lied, and he was caught red-handed, hands in the pot.
On every issue on substance, J.D. Vance was very polished and very slick, and Tim Walz beat him on all the substantive points. At least that was.
You can tell when somebody's just lying and just trying to believe their own lies. And that's exactly what this lady's doing here. Yeah, beat him. Hey, thanks for stopping by again. Just a few collections of clips that I just had to share and react to and just tell you what I think. So again, for me, I agree with the media. Tim Walz is weak, unprepared, not ready for this. And it is a reflection of the non-interviews, the same strategy that Kamala has been pulling. And is telling on the debate stage. Unfortunately for Tim, the VP debate that they just had is the one and only. No other chance to prove himself again. Lack of preparation will do that. Please put in the comment section below what you think. Let us know. Do you agree with the media? Hey, thanks for stopping by again. It's me again, WJONI, Channel 1 Life, many seasons. You know how we like to close it out, but before we do, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hey, we just like to remind ourselves that we always remember that we got one life with many seasons. So let's make the best of it. God bless you, and I'll see you. Go vote. Take care now. Bye for now.